guys, how are you? I hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I have yet another movie review. This movie is a horror film from Sweden, Swedish language English subs, released in the year 2009, directed by Frederick Hiller, and this film is called Psalm 21. So the story of Psalm 21 is about a priest, a very popular priest. He is beloved by his followers, and he firmly believes that there is no such thing as hell. So he believes that, the world is only good and that hell is a man-made creation. So all of this is about to be put to the test when one night he is phoned by a person saying that his father has died. Now his father was also a priest, and his father played a major role in his life, so he's obviously devastated, and he's told that his father died of drowning. So this immediately gets the attention of the priest, and he starts to suspect that there is a lot more to the truth than he first realised. So he goes to this secluded countryside where his father died, and he's asking the locals around about what's happened. He wants some closure, and the answers that he gets proves to be a lot more shocking than he first thought, and he is about to go down a very nightmarish road that is going to put his belief that hell doesn't exist to the test. And whether or not he can come out of this ordeal in one piece is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Psalm 21. If you're going to judge this movie as just a horror film, I do think it has a lot of problems. Now these are my biggest negatives to the film, and I will be going into them a little bit later, but first I'll go into the positives of Psalm 21. Fortunately, the movie doesn't rely solely on its horror aspect, and that's the reason why this movie definitely comes recommended, is because it does have a very soul-searching message underneath. And I actually thought it was a very relevant message underneath, because it does depict religion and how destructive religion can be, and the reason why a lot of people are very much put off by religion, and that religion, Christianity is seen in a very good light. The stereotypical sort of Christian is a good guy. Hell versus heaven, God versus Satan. And when that line gets blurred, we get very uncomfortable. And I think that a lot of people these days use religion to hide behind things, and I thought the movie depicted that very, very well. And I thought it was a very sad sort of story that the movie had, and it really took me by surprise, because I wasn't expecting anything but a generic horror film. And so I really like the idea that the director was well aware that he was going to use a very generic idea, but he was going to splash something a little bit more to it that would make it worth it. So although the movie does have its problems, I thought it was definitely worth the effort, because it is a very sad film, and it is a movie that is very relevant to today's society. So it actually felt like it was more than just a generic horror film. It was more than just a cash grab. It was a movie that was trying to depict problems concerning religion, and as a result of that, I can see a lot of people being offended by this film. I can see a lot of people hating it, but for me, I really thought it was brave filmmaking, and it wasn't afraid to show things that we deem as sacred in a very realistic way. So that was a very good aspect of the film, and fortunately that's what saves it and prevents it from being a mess. I thought the cinematography was excellent. This movie obviously has a little bit of money, and I thought the money was put into it very well. It was executed well in the visuals. I thought it was a very dark and isolated place the movie is taking place in, and the atmosphere really does come through the screen, and it makes you feel very awkward as well. I thought the acting was decent, although the characters don't really have too much time to blossom. I thought the main character, the priest, was very intriguing, and by the halfway stage you realise that this is accumulating into a very sad film. So at the start of it you think you've seen all this before, but then by the halfway stage you think, oh okay, this is not the type of movie I thought this was going to be, and now I'm starting to feel a lot of sympathy for this priest, because his history, it all comes into place through flashbacks. I thought the flashbacks were very well utilised. They weren't distracting, and they didn't really halt the progression of the film. So I thought all that was done very well. And as I said, it had that atmosphere that is very hard to create, so I really like that aspect, and it just captures a Scandinavian type of feel. So unfortunately though, the movie does have a problem, and the problem comes in its horror set pieces. Now to start off with, you do have a lot of CGI, which I'm not really a big fan of, but the problem with the movie is not the CGI, it's the fact that it's recycling all of its horror scares. So you see one demon, and then you see another demon, and then another one, and another one, and it doesn't really give you time to really accumulate the tension. So it's hitting you, bombarding you with all these demonic sort of visuals, but then you start to desensitize to it, so it's not really as scary as it wants to be. And then after a while, because it's not so scary, it's starting to become a distraction, because the overall story and the overall themes to the film is becoming more important than the actual scares. So when the scares are happening, you don't really care about them, you just want to get down to the basis of the story. And so for a horror film, that really isn't a good sign. If your horror aspect isn't working, and that's your main selling point, then I can see a lot of people coming away from this film being very disappointed. But as I said, putting all that aside, I thought the ending was was absolutely fantastic. There was a scene of dialogue, I'm not going to give it away, between two people that I thought was very soul-searching, and as I said, very relevant to today's problems as far as religion is concerned. So it is a demonic sort of generic film, but underneath you've got a really solid basis to make a film that's going to get a lot of people talking, and it was definitely a movie that I wasn't expecting to enjoy as much as I did. So as far as Scandinavian horror is concerned, this movie isn't going to be as memorable as others, but if you're bored one night and you want to watch a movie, definitely give Psalm 21 a go. It's not a movie that I'm going to be rushing to see again, but I was definitely happy that I got the chance to see it, and overall I got a rewarding experience. So overall for Psalm 21, I'm going to give it 3 stars. Go out there and see it. Alright guys, that's my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.